What was that? Some crazy noise just came from upstairs. I don't have any idea. Hey, welcome to Friday night. And let's start. I've got Yoda's Blend from Shorts. This is the 2019 version, which is different than the 2018. And I was going to do a review, but since you fuckers don't watch my beer reviews, I said, screw it. I'm drinking it. And so there you go. And it's a different blend of hops than last year. It's a little bit more bitter. But hey, this is episode 110. And or if you like to count binary, this is episode 6. Joining me is the Appalachian American.
Well, good evening, sir. How are you?
I am kind of weird right now. Feeling kind of funky.
Oh.
Kind of funky. Yes, been a very busy since I've been home type of deal. It's unbelievable. I've been like in 8 different directions. And hopefully I don't accidentally. I got so many windows open and so many browsers. You know what I don't have is I don't have one listening to this to make sure everything is going out. But it looks like we do have one person listening, at least it wants to pretend.
That was me.
That was you.
Yeah.
So
Megatron 95.
All right. Excellent. Original turns are great. Prequels are misunderstood. What the hell? Golly day.
I really like the prequels.
After, I don't know if it was Last Jedi or if it was The Force Awakens, I tried to watch them again and I just couldn't. But maybe I just need to get my head out of my butt and try it again. But now at some point, hopefully soon, we'll have one of. So what's your friend's name? Because I didn't.
His name's Wayne, but I'm not sure if he'll have a screen name or what. So whatever.
Right. Well, you just outed him anyway.
Oh, well.
And unlike what the description says, Tabadai and Liquid Metal Pro, I thought we're going to be here, but they ain't said nothing. Once it's done, I have to take care of the. If you guys are still on later, I'll go. Well, we just started Tap or LMP.
What a crybaby! He's got to take care of the trash.
But we'll see. We'll see how long it goes. Just listen in, man. But I guess I was unaware that the Big Show was not doing a show yesterday, and I went and looked on YouTube, and I didn't see anything.
Oh, that's right. That's weird. So
this is the first show of I don't care. There's all this debate going around about what's a decade. This is a decade. This is the end of the second decade of the 2000s. So bite me. If you can't count, go find your 5th grade math teacher and do whatever. But you're wrong, and that's all there is. I'm tired of the debate. So anyway, part of what we're going to try and do tonight is have a discussion, perhaps lively, about the Disney trilogy and about maybe comparing it to the original. And we'll see, how much of it is nostalgia and how much of it is longing for something long gone. I will say this, as in parts of some of the notes that you sent me about what we're going to do. In my humble but accurate opinion, Star Wars was saved in the edit room. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff that they cut out. Have you seen any removed footage?
No. I would like to. Where can I find it?
I found it probably half of it's on YouTube. I found some of it I had seen before. Mark Hamill trying to act like he's drunk, looking for parts in the store, talking to his. The only scene that I think they should have left in, although it would probably require a slight rewrite and maybe reshoot, was when he talks to Biggs. But a lot of what we got in the prequels, where it's good to have pauses, and they're sometimes too long in the prequels. We got a lot of that in the original cut. So it was Marcia, and I always forget the other guy who edited it. Maybe I'll look it up. Marcia Lucas. It needed more punch. Now, it was probably still good. I mean, Spielberg was really excited about what he did, but Spielberg also gave us E.T., which a lot of people liked, and I fell asleep during. So, and I was, what E.T. was that, 82? I think.
I don't know.
Yep, 82. I only went because everybody in the whole, I was living at Fort Ritchie, Maryland at the time. All my friends went. I was bored. I arrived. Somehow there was one spot left. And it was kind of like Lord of the Rings. It's like, this movie's over. Oh, no, it's not. oh, this movie's over. Oh no, it's not. It was like, I was like, oh my, and I don't get it. I thought it was an absolute bore fest. And so was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, another movie that people just him and haul over, and I'm just like, I saw it sometime in the early '80s on VHS, and I was just like, yeah, this movie's it. I understand from a spectacle of hey with aliens and all that other stuff, but it was pretty dang on boring. And I don't need an action. This is part of the problem with the Rise of Skywalker is it's just moves so fast. And I think that's also part of it is people haven't had time to absorb it. But I found it exhausting. It's like, oh my god, I got to keep track of another MacGuffin. I lose track. So, but anyway. But yeah, some of the scenes with him and the droids where he's actually looking up at the battle. He's got the binoculars and he looks up and actually sees the Star Destroyer and Princess Leia's ship fighting, shooting at one another. And there's actually noise too, which is kind of stupid because they're in orbit, but they're not low. They're not anywhere where the sound should travel that well. I don't think. I guess maybe it's a shockwave or something, but I understand the atmosphere goes up pretty far, but there's also part of it where there's just not enough molecules near each other to vibrate. So, but it was pretty interesting. And some of that stuff made it back into the radio drama, which I listened to in the 80s as a kid, or 79, late 81, whenever that came out. And
that was about 8 years ahead of me.
Yeah, that's also something to look at because it's it kind of goes before. Yeah, Paul Hirsch. That's the other film editor, and Richard Crew. But I think it was Paul Hirsch and Marcia that really gave some more punch and pizzazz to certain scenes in the movie by cutting stuff out and moving stuff around. And if I remember correctly, if you think about Luke's dialogue during the trench run, it's going in full throttle this time. It's almost like he's referring to a run that they did previously. And in the novelization, they did do a run previously. They break off. Vader chases Biggs, and Biggs doesn't make it back. So then they do a full throttle, and it's just him and Wedge, and then and if I remember correctly too, his call sign was Blue 5, not Red 5. So, but I'll have to dig out the novelization to figure that out.
Yeah.
So
I don't know too much about like the behind the scenes and stuff like that of it, which I'd like to know, but I just don't.
Yeah. I saw an interview not too long ago, maybe a year or so, with Marcia and Paul, and they were talking about it. And Marcia said, when the Millennium Falcon comes out of the sun, if the audience doesn't cheer, then we failed. I mean, that's the kind of thing that they were editing. And I think that type of stuff was missing from the prequels. And there's a couple of, perhaps more than a couple, but there's probably several different things. One, Lucas, he didn't have the editors he had before. He didn't have but also we already knew where the story was going, right? Part of the problem with the prequels is we know where episode 3 has to lead us, right? So the suspense in many ways is not there. So that's how I feel. But so let's talk about some New Year's crap. You do anything? I mean, I don't want to bore people too much of just but all of a sudden
no, we just sat around and watched movies and stuff, and then once it was like 11:55, we flipped over and watched the ball.
Yeah, I don't even think I was up by that point. I don't know. Too old for that stuff. But anyway, I don't even know what the heck's going on. Maybe this is why the Big Show didn't do a show, because we're sitting there waiting for your friend, and it's like I don't know what the hell to talk about.
Any day now.
I haven't seen the next Jumanji, the next level yet.
I know. I really want to see that.
Although I listened to Jeff's video, it was about, I think it was just from a couple days ago where, the Rise of Skywalker had dropped 72% in the second week.
Yeah.
And I guess he was up visiting Dion because he was in Michigan, and they went to see. Um, I think they went at a like a time in the afternoon, and it was sold out. And that's what in its third week now or fourth week. It's been out. I know it came out at least a week before Rise of Skywalker. So it's not. I wish it would hit over $1 billion, considering its budget was only 125 million. But it's at least it's over 500 million. So, but yeah, they come back to it at a different time.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm flipping through like the old the articles and stuff that we've been posting back and forth. Here, let's see. An earlier cut of Rise of Skywalker had a more in-depth Palpatine backstory.
Yeah, that's one of the things that. See, this is when Doomcock did a video a few weeks ago about his source that was telling him there was all these different cuts of Rise of Skywalker and everything. I think this is where this is stemming from. It's because I think at one point didn't they say it was supposed to be over 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be the longest one, and Kathleen made him cut it back. Kathleen loved the Last Jedi. She talked about how it's one of the best, and I forget what her exact words are, but she was just fawning all over it. So for Jar Jar to then undo all the stuff that she loved, I think that's where a lot of that came from. She was like, "Hey, no, you're cutting this out and you're cutting that out," but even Jar Jar's version, test audiences were laughing at it. They didn't like the ending.
Well, from my notes that I've taken, I found out. Well, this is somebody on EFAP found out that the original. There was an article released that the original Rise of Skywalker link or the movie writing was not going to be anything about Palpatine, and it was just going to be the dagger was going to be called the Dagger of Mortis, and the antagonist was the son of Mortis.
Right, and that was Matt Smith.
Yeah, and that was the old EU stuff. But they cut it because they felt like nobody would know anything about it.
Yeah,
but I mean,
but you could have easily done a prologue.
You could have, but at the same time, in episode 2, nobody know who Sifo-Dyas was, but they went in and talking about it, and it was like, I was like, who?
Well, look at the very interesting conversation in the prequel. Is it Attack of the Clones where he's talking to them about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice, because the music actually fits that, and I think they're at the opera, and what's going on stage also mirrors what they're talking about. That kind of, this is where the prequels have their great moments. This is why I think with a little bit of pushback and a much better editing, the prequels could be probably, I think you can make 2 good movies out of them. But that's the kind of thing where you could introduce some backstory, but JJ doesn't do that. JJ's just rush to the next scene, and you never set up stuff.
Hang on just a second. Let me just.
Yeah, I can hear lots of background noise. So, folks, this is a very odd and low energy episode, as the Appalachian American have muted his stuff. But see, here's one of the things that Jar Jar misses, and maybe it's you see this a little bit in the Marvel movies, but not as bad. You can set up scenes in the future, maybe in the future movies, with a small dial. You can have some dialogue where the characters are going back and forth. The music can really help put the right tone, but these exchanges of information, they need to feel natural and they need to feel organic. And this is one of the big things that's missing with when JJ's characters are talking to one another. They're almost, it's like they're just talking to the audience, like the millennial audience who's not going to pay attention. Hey, get ready. This is what's coming. Hey, get ready. This is what's coming. This is why we have the scene with Snoke in the Force Awakens, the scene with Snoke and Kylo Ren and who's the redhead? What's his name? Hux.
Oh yeah, he's not
Okay.
redhead.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
I don't know. He's stupid.
Ginger. He's a ginger. But that scene could have laid down. So when they're talking about the or maybe it's just him and Kylo Ren and Snoke. It's just Kylo Ren and Snoke, where he says the droid is now on the Millennium, in the hands of your father, Han Solo. It's and that's I do like Mahler's take on that. Your father Han Solo, who's in the Han's. It says it like 4 or 5 times.
Do you remember? Do you remember the movie? That's My Boy with Adam Sandler and Andy.
I remember the movie. I didn't see it. I remember seeing things for it.
He named his son Han Solo Burger. He was like, "What do you want your kid to be named?" He's like, "Han Solo," and then the last name was Burger.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But that scene. See, and I've said this before. Imagine that you have Princess Leia say to Han, "Hey, if you see Ben, tell him to come home." You have Snoke say, my spies tell me that the droid is in the hands of Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon, but you don't say your father. Okay. You make no direct connection. And then when he goes by, when Kylo Ren walks by and starts walking out on that platform, and Han yells Ben, and he turns around. So imagine you still know who Ben Solo is until that moment, or even better way to play it is you have him say Kylo or see his father, and they start talking. And when Kylo Ren / Ben Solo says, "I know what I need to do, but I don't have the strength to do it," Han Solo says, "Ben, I'll help you." And then he's killed, okay, within seconds, right? So you don't know it's Ben until right before he turns the lightsaber on and kills his father. I mean, imagine the tension and emotion at that scene. Because we already know who Ben is way too early. So we have lots of time to lose that. Okay, that tension. And then the problem with that scene too, well, another problem is the foreshadowing in the background, because everything turns, it's bright and then it turns suddenly red and dark, and then he's just going to turn it on. Or he says Ben after he turns it on, right before he falls off the bridge, right? So you don't know it's Ben until right then. Much better scene than the BS we get. But Jar Jar doesn't build tension. He doesn't want he has his mystery box, but he uses the mystery box as an excuse not to write a better movie.
Right.
He puts the mysteries where they don't belong because he doesn't want to figure out the details. And then stuff that should be mystery or should be a mystery for longer, he just exposes instantly. He did the same thing in Rise of Skywalker, about how we're going to find this. And instant, oh, we got a map. Oh, we got this. Oh, it's like everything is, any slight tension is resolved in seconds, sometimes in the very next sentence. So, dump down or dumb down. I don't know which one you mean, Megatron 95, but yeah, that they've dumbed it down. But that's also Jar Jar's way of doing things. That's the big problem with his stuff in Star Trek. And he rebooted Star Trek, and he sort of copied, but not really the first movie, but definitely copied, Wrath of Khan. So that was stupid. And then he had turned Uhura. I don't know what he has against black people, but he turns them into buffoons, because he turns Uhura in, I think it's the second one, where they're in a life and death situation in the shuttle, and she decides it's time to get on Spock's case about something with the relationship, like a little bitchy girlfriend. And you even have Kirk saying, "Excuse me," and she's like, "Wait a minute, Captain, just hold on one moment." But she's otherwise competent until then, and it's like, that is so degrading. But he only tends to do it. I don't remember him doing it to any. I mean, he did make what's her name have nice abs in the one scene. He played Dr. Carol Marcus, but I think that was played more for laughs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know, and then he turns Finn. Someone put someone around the lines the last couple of days. Someone put this into my brain that. No, actually, I think I know who it is. It was today. I was listening to an interview with Mark Hamill on, I think it was Sway, the Sway radio show. It's, I think, out in LA. And they were talking about after the Rise of Skywalker and the things that Mark Hamill was tweeting with John Boyega, and he was calling him son and everything else. And I was like, oh my goodness, imagine not, because we talked about last week. I talked about my idea of how I would fix this trilogy, where Rey is already a Jedi. Maybe she's a Jedi in hiding. Kylo Ren, basically we know she was a student of Luke and everything else like that. And maybe she has a vision or whatever, and she has to wait on this planet. And Finn is the one who's the Force Awakens in, and it's Finn that they kind of battle over back and forth. But imagine if at some point we find out Finn is Luke's son. So that kind of thing.
Uh-oh.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys?
All right.
It sounds like you have a child in the background who's not
Yeah,
happy.
he's a little hungry.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
They get that way.
Yes.
Don't worry, they cry and whine until they're about 23. So you got a few years. And then there ain't nothing like the teenage teenage boys whine too. But when they're in like late grade school, middle school, it's like the whining will about drive you nuts. So known as the one, welcome to the Fan Caste.
Well, thank you. I took a minute to get here. I had to indulge in the cheesy loveliness, but yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I understood. That food was more important. So, well, we got started late anyway. So,
pizza is life.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I was just kind of giving an updated version of, just if you join. One of the things that we did last week was, what would you change about the Disney trilogy? And I know you're here you and Seth are here to discuss it. But that was one of my, I just so you know what in the heck I'm talking about. One of my ideas last week was having Rey already been a Jedi and trained, and maybe had like a vision or some reason she needed to be on Jakku. You have Finn, because this is what was hinted at in many ways. I understand it was a bit of a red herring and a bait and switch, but you have Finn is the one who the Force Awakens in, if you will. And it's basically the arc is his struggles from, on one side you have the Force, which is kind of pushing free will, right? He has a choice. He doesn't shoot. He expresses an opinion that's different, versus his indoctrination since basically birth, that training and, automatonness, if you will. And then Kylo and Rey trying to pull him to their side of the story, as it were.
Right.
So, but that was just talking about I think it was Sway. It was something I looked today. For some reason, it came up on YouTube, and I was listening to it at work about his interview with Mark Hamill on a radio station out in LA. And they were talking about his relationship with John Boyega on Twitter, where he was calling him son and different things. And that kind of sparked my mind. It's like, well, what if Finn was Luke's long lost son or something? That would be interesting. But anyway, that's what I was doing, and I'll digress. So you guys want to kind of give me a little bit of background on what it is you want to talk about tonight?
I mean,
I think.
Yep. What? Go ahead. You go ahead.
Go ahead, Seth. No, go ahead, Seth.
You go ahead.
I think the whole trilogy got screwed over by Disney trying to make it more casual, fan friendly. I think that changing With the Force Awakens, I think that they screwed up by making just one person Force sensitive rather than really focusing on Rey and Finn also being Force sensitive, and then taking that whole Star Wars genre and then trying to make it into a Disney princess. I think they screwed up there. I think that's where they really messed up at. And really, um, okay, let's say, okay, let's let Rey be the main character of the whole, next trilogy. Fine, but you also, it's the Force Awakens, so it's not just one person. It should have been Rey and, hey, even Poe, because he was a superior pilot. Let it be a couple of people who were Force sensitive that the Force awakened. Then okay, fine. Let Rey be the main character, but Poe and Finn should have also been just as important when it came to the Force, where maybe they weren't as strong in the Force as Rey was, but they were just as important, and it would lead into something after the next three trilogies. I mean, next trilogy into something into 2022, where it's like, okay, so Rey's bringing back the Jedi Academy, and you got Poe and Finn who are able to do some things with the Force also. I think they just screwed up when they just focused on one person, and it was just Rey and Kylo, and then there's just like, that was it. It's just like, it made it too much like the original trilogy, and it was like just Luke and Vader, where it should have been a little bit more broad, and it just, I think they screwed up there.
Man, see, I like that, but at the same time, like, if you start giving everybody Force powers, then it becomes not so special.
Mm, yeah, but
I mean,
that's
just my thought.
Yeah, you think about it, like the Jedi Academy, there was hundreds and hundreds of Jedi that were Force sensitive. Granted, Anakin was like, he had the most, midichlorians and blah 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 and all this other stuff, but there was so many Jedi, and then they had the younglings that Anakin killed back in Episode 3. But for just one person to be so powerful in the Force, and that's what made it so bad. It was like Luke was strong in the Force because he was the son of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. Rey was powerful in the Force. They didn't even know they didn't even know what the Force was by the time Rey came about, and she didn't have anybody to train her in the Force Awakens at all. Like Luke had Ben Kenobi, and it was just like, and then he had Yoda. Like, whoa, you can't get anything bigger than Yoda. Rey had no one, and then she was able to outdo Kylo Ren in the Force to summon.
But doesn't that seem like a problem?
Yeah, it was definitely a problem. It was, and here's the thing. Like, I'm definitely here to defend the Disney era of Star Wars because they had a huge hurdle to overcome, but they definitely screwed up in a few aspects because Disney is Disney. It's like everybody's a princess, and you can't do that. Like, you have to have that Marvel-esque edge with the PG-13 where someone. And here's the thing. Here's the problem with Star Wars compared to, like, let's say Marvel. Marvel has Kevin Feige. Okay. Star Wars doesn't have anybody. They had J.J. Abrams, who directed The Force Awakens. You had Ryan Johnson, who directed the Last Jedi, and you had J.J. Abrams again, but you didn't have anybody who spearheaded the entire franchise of Star Wars like Kevin Feige does with Marvel, and that's where it fell off.
Yeah, but you had Kathleen doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the one firing people. I mean, she's fired more directors than she let finish movies. But I want to go back to something you said. What do you think the hurdle was that they needed to overcome with the new trilogy? You said there was a hurdle.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle for them was, I think the biggest problem they had was excluding one, uh, George Lucas,
Right.
and two, analyzing all of universe stuff from the books.
Well, is that a hurdle? Or is those
Because
mistakes?
if you go back, those are mistakes, and that's what caused. See, Disney
Okay.
created their own hurdles and their own obstacles because they
Okay.
created that by making mistakes that you had a legend. Like that's where Fox made the mistakes with any of the Marvel movies. You have the script right in front of you. Why would you change it?
Right. With the X-Men stuff,
You
you mean?
know, right? The X-Men stuff with the
Right.
Fantastic Four stuff.
Oh,
You know,
Fantastic
you
Four. Oh my
have,
God. Yeah.
yeah,
Fan Four Stick.
it's right.
Oh my God. It's like, how many times can they screw that up? Apparently.
Oh my God! And even when Disney before Disney had Fox, they made The Incredibles, and they showed you how to do their Fantastic Four, and then
Yeah.
they still screwed
Right.
up. It's like,
That's
Right,
true.
right.
I hadn't even thought about that. That's true.
The
but
Incredibles is a better Fantastic Four movie than Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
right, and I think Disney screwed up with that because you had all that. Okay, so you have Star Wars, boom, everything came out, and you had there was a Star Wars mini series. I forgot the name of it. Before it was Star Wars Clone Wars. It was a crazy looking mini series that came out. I think maybe on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
I'm not
The
sure.
Was that Rebels?
No, it was
Or was
before
it
Rebels. It was
Oh. Okay.
God, I wish I remember the name of it, but it was really really good. And then they came out with Clone Wars, and that was amazing. It filled in the gaps. It was amazing. And then that was all done, and then episode 3 came out, and they did all that, and then you had Rebels. And Rebels came out, and it told a great story. But see, then you had the new trilogies that I think the biggest problem is you look at Mandalorian, you look at Star Wars Rebels, you look at stuff like that, you look at Star Wars Rogue One. These are all stories of fresh, brand new characters. You know, not the original Chewie, Han, Leia, Luke. You know, it gets away from that, but it's still in the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars lore, and everybody's on board because you're not screwing up the original legend of Han, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, you know? And I thought what
Well, I
Disney
mean,
made
yeah.
was, yeah, I think the biggest problem Disney made was they tried to continue on with the Skywalker legacy using, stop, you got to leave it alone because you can't, it's a legend. You can't mess with that legend. That's why Solo sucked.
Yeah, even there, I mean, to your point about Disney throwing out the EU, there were 6 books. There was the original 3 that I read when I was in high school, back in the early 80s, the Han Solo trilogy that happens before most of the time when I talk about a movie that's Star Wars, it's the A New Hope, because that's what it was when I was a kid. I turned 9 when the original movie came out, just so you know where I am age-wise. But and then there was a later, I forget the lady's name, who wrote a fantastic, which I got to find a copy of because I have the original. I have the Han Solo books. I have the Lando Calrissian books when he had the Millennium Falcon. And they weren't bad. They were thin. Those probably could have been movies, but they would have been a little different. Although some of those stuff we saw in Solo, some of that imagery does come out of the books. And then there was another set that went around those. It was like before and after or something. I forget. But because they weave in between them. So there's 6 books there that they could have used. Yeah, I think, to me, I would agree that some of those hurdles that Disney put out there, and I don't know how much of it's just Disney, how much of it's Bob Iger. Because previously Disney, when they bought a property, let's say Mary Poppins or Peter Pan, or they bought the rights to something, even the Grimm's, fairy tales, they bought the rights for years ago. Yes, they changed them. Now, in some ways, they made them more family friendly. If you ever read, the Grimm's, the Brothers Grimm, and their fairy tales, Hansel and Gretel and all these things, they're pretty horrific. They're rated R if you put that on screen. But we get, if I remember correctly, part of the reason why the PG-13 rating exists is because of Star Wars. It wasn't the only one. Because by the time we get to the prequels and stuff, they're PG-13. This is where they're for kids, kind of. To me, kids love them, but they're really young adult movies. And
Megatron 95 just said, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all."
Yeah. But even that, I mean, there was a movie recently about the author of Mary Poppins, what she didn't like, what they changed in the movie. And so they've always changed it, but they were going for that G rating. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I remember when The Black Hole came out, there was a huge controversy over that movie because it was the first non-G Disney movie. Now, as a kid, I didn't like it that much, but as an adult, I've rewatched it. I'm like, this movie is pretty daggone good, and its visuals, its storytelling, but it is very slow. It's kind of like,
like Tron.
Was it? Tron. And then Odyssey. What was the Space Odyssey? Hey, Prime Movies here. Welcome, old man. Yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey. That movie's also quite slow. So is Close Encounters. Star Wars was kind of one of the first science fiction movies that had a bit of a pace to it. But just to catch up, the Prime Mover. This is known as the one that's one of Appalachian American's friends. Or at least that's what he claims. As far as I know, he just paid somebody $100 to show up.
Checks in the mail.
Fan Caste.
No.
Hey, we got Gen X against millennials here.
Sonny Dale Barakatniga Wadichinda. Jabba Wadichinda. Gotbawanya Uska.
Oh, good grief.
Askiyawi Tuso.
Okay.
Now I wish I actually had seen Jumanji Next Level so we could talk about something other than Star Wars. But anyway, so I agree with some of that. Some of the things that they and them getting rid of it is, I think old school Disney would have been adopting all that EU stuff for decades. But new school Disney wants complete and utter control over an IP, and I think that's why they got rid of it, because they don't have to then pay all those authors any royalties. But then they steal from it, but they screw it up. So it's because part of the reason I asked that question about what hurdle did they overcome is there were many people who told me when The Force Awakens came out, and I was whining that it was just a reboot and just a copy of A New Hope. They were like, well, they had to because of the prequels. And I'm like, the prequels took years before people didn't like them. Those movies set records and people bought, and the toys were flying off the shelves. The merchandising sales were good. And then we have The Force Awakens, and the merchandising sales, they can't give stuff away. Some of it sold, but a lot of it just rotted on shelves for a couple of years. And it was like, that's kind of what I thought where you were going. But I do agree that, Disney created their own hurdle by, booting the EU just because they didn't want to pay people money.
I think the biggest issue that with the whole Star Wars franchise period is the original trilogy. New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. They're legend. It's legend. It's like it's almost like mythology. You know what I'm saying? And over the years, you'll have all different versions of the Greek mythology about Zeus and Hermes and blah, 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 blah. And you'll have different versions of it, but nothing matches the actual Greek mythology of what it really was. If you really, 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 really look at the original trilogy, those movies were like, oh my gosh, you never seen anything like that before. In the 70s and the 80s, when it came to the special effects and there's the thought process and the imagery and everything, but on a movie level, they weren't that great. The acting was subpar. it really wasn't all that great, but it was what it was for the time. It made it legendary. So you can't ever compete with that. So I think the biggest issue that Disney or anybody that does any kind of Star Wars ever runs into is going back to the original trilogy rather than taking the universe and the idea and moving forward. That's why the Mandalorian is so good. Is because the Mandalorian is not. There's no characters in the Mandalorian except for quote unquote Baby Yoda. There's no characters in the Mandalorian that exists from the original trilogy. It's just the universe, and it's the you're trapped in the legend of Star Wars, and you're immersed in it. But you can't mess with Luke, Leia. You can't mess with the originals because it's legend, and that's where like the new trilogies. If they had just gone away from certain parts of the originals, it would have been a lot better. But they wanted to undo the prequels by drawing in the casual fan and the nerd fan and lure you in with the Luke and the Leias and the Hans, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they screwed up at. They should have kind of almost went a whole different way, and it would have been more successful. And then once the first one came out, like you said, it was a carbon copy of A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryan Johnson kind of just completely. I think Ryan Johnson, what he wanted to do was he just wanted to troll the internet trolls. All the internet.
It does seem that way. Yeah.
Right.
He made it. He made a lot of people a lot of money. We'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he remember the picture of him with the your Snoke theories are stupid or something like that, or wrong or whatever. And that's and I think every scene. My daughter just recently watched that within the last couple of weeks, and she was like, she's sending me messages. This really happened. She's like, what is he doing? I mean, every scene sets up something and then does something against your expectations. It's kind of old. Yep. It becomes sticky after a while. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you poke me in the eye. This almost feels like Star Wars, the Three Stooges, the Star Wars edition.
Right. And then when JJ came in, and I read today, JJ came in. He came in late, and he put his stuff out there. And Disney actually went in. I didn't know this. Disney went in, and they screwed him. Disney went in and edited his actual product to what they wanted behind his back. And there was so many scenes that would have made sense. There's so many parts that he put in that would have been so much more appreciated from the casual fan and the Star Wars fan that Disney said, no, we want to go ahead and do this, that, and the third because we're, family friendly. I didn't know that. And then, for them to do that and for him to have to jump over the hurdle of Ryan Johnson's version of Star Wars, he had a huge he just had a huge obstacle to overcome. So for me, for watching it for what it was and recognizing, okay, this is 42 years of Star Wars coming to an end of the Skywalker saga, I appreciated it for a visual of what it was and what he had to do and what he had to overcome. So I liked it. Could have been better, of course, but it would have gotten better back in the second half of The Force Awakens into The Last Jedi into The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, I see where he wanted to make a divisive movie, and I get that he wanted to do certain things, but at the same time, all he did was ruin Luke Skywalker and make
Ryan Johnson killed him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would say
so
that
dumb.
people blame Ryan Johnson for that a lot, but to me, it was JJ that put him on the island. He could have had a better reason to flee than what he did. But But it's one thing to have. I mean, okay, yeah, he put him on the island, but Ryan Johnson could have easily had him, meditating or trying to become better or looking for something. You didn't have to make him a whiny cunt.
And they left it to where that all he had to do was leave, but they wouldn't never let him leave. And then Rise of Skywalker came out, he pulled the X-Wing up out of the water, and boom, there you go. And it was like, why couldn't you have done that? Like,
well, it's because you were expecting that. So Prime Mover, I don't know if you've been even able to pay attention and follow along, but we're kind of just debating so far in general the Disney trilogy. Yeah.
Okay, you said that JJ put him on the island, but Ruin Johnson had him throw the lightsaber behind his back. So it just escalated.
Correct, I get
degrees of FUism.
Well, apparently, my understanding is they changed the ending of The Force Awakens because Ryan Johnson, because now maybe known as the one and I have seen some of the same leaks, but apparently the original idea was to have what we see Rey floating around with the rocks in the Rise of Skywalker. That's when she goes and finds Luke. That's what he was supposed to be doing. And
there's a whole bunch of artwork that showed that.
Right. They changed it to have him just standing there, and then Ryan Johnson wrote what he did. And again, Kathleen was all praised before that movie came out. She was fawning all over it. But part of now granted, this is headcanon, and you can call me Alex Jones Jr. if you want, but a lot of what seems to have been going on with the arc that we've got was Kathleen Kennedy's personal vendetta against Spielberg and Lucas in particular. And she felt that because some of the stuff that she's talked about, it sounds like she didn't understand the Leia character at all. And she felt that Leia got short shrift in the original, only Leia wore the sexy outfit, right? We didn't see Mark or Hans or Harrison drift, any of that kind of stuff. But it's like,
darn it.
And this is one of the things that I've even heard Mark Hamill talk about. Darn, I know. I know, Stephanie, if you're out there, I'm sure you were denied a great visual, but Stephanie Yanchek, who's actually been on the show a couple times, it's been a while because her channel's growing. She doesn't have time for little pipsqueak channels like us. But as soon as Luke walks into herself, so first of all, she never sends outward, never calls for help, right? The mission is the important part. The mission is to get the plans to the rebels and to her father in particular. Okay. And so she never sends out a distress, she's never the damsel in distress ever. Anybody that thinks she is not watching Star Wars at all. And then as soon as Luke walks in, before he says a word, what does she say? Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? Instantly,
aren't you my brother?
Right? You're right. You're right. But instantly with insults. They get out in the hallway.
You're pretty hot.
Right. They get out in the hallway, and it's more insults. You guys had a plan for getting in, but you didn't have a plan. This is some rescue. You had a plan for getting in, but didn't have a plan for getting out. Grabs the gun from Han Solo, shoots into the garbage chute flyboy, tosses him as a blaster, and dives in. It's like, or Luke's. I guess
70s speak is an emasculating move.
Right. But because she's the leader, the reason she does that is she is the leader, period. You have the hired guns, the hotshot pilot, farm boy, okay, and you have the leader. And everybody has their, Jeff even talked about this on the big show, and someone's apparently changing their oil. But the only reason, by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, the only reason that stupid slave costume works as a way to insult and put down Leia is because it's a strong character. And then she uses the very chains that bind her to Jabba to kill him. And it's like, how do you miss this importance? How do you miss, it's like, it's like, but now granted, I understand it's a bit conspiratorial on my part to think that Kathleen had it out for them, but it sure feels that way. Whereas had you had what there's a when they re-released the original trilogy before the prequels in the 90s, and they had them remastered and everything. There's Mark Hamill was on some show, I forget what, And he was talking about George saying, "Hey, after I, a few years and have done the, the prequels, would you be interested in reprising your role, almost like Alec Guinness?" And he's even said, as as passing Excalibur on to the next generation, if you would have had a generational move like that in these movies, I think you could have had the old fans pulled in because of the original characters, and then you move on. But they could have just as easily said it's 300 years later, as far as I'm concerned, and we could have seen them on screen, perhaps in there. Someone's reading about something that happened, or there's some kind of, hey, someone's talking about a narrative of some sort, and maybe you have like a pseudo flashback type thing. It would have been fine. I didn't have to have 3 more movies with the 3 characters necessarily, but
Right.
but yeah, it just feels like they went. And again, I feel that it's Kathleen. This is Kathleen that did this. It's to go out of her way to get back at George, and it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of almost like a reboot of this. In particular, if Disney still, after The Mandalorian, if that all dies down and they still can't make money, and granted, I know Disney doesn't ever sell anything, but let's just say, if and buts, if and buts were fruits and nuts, they sold it and someone redid 7, 8, and 9, I wouldn't even be against it. But yeah, it's like, tell some stories, right? Because to your point, we didn't need Rogue One. We didn't need Solo. We know enough of the background of what's going on there. We don't need movies. And that was just trying to capitalize on the original trilogy. Move forward and write your own stuff. But again, they dumped the EU. And now that I got my dogs doing all kinds of... So Prime, you want to say something, or I'm trying to pass the buck around so everybody gets to talk.
You're not doing it very good.
Yeah, I agree that. I disagree that we didn't need Rogue One. I think we did, because that was a idea that was brought up by John Knoll, who's the head special effects director, one of the original creators of Photoshop. He came up with an idea that he wanted to make Star Wars a little more militaristic, a little more gritty, and wrote a tinkering process through the film by committee. It got whittled down to the, female, femme strong, forces female.
To the comedy we got.
Yeah.
Well, they reshot 45%.
But I'll tell you what,
Gareth Edwards gets fired.
Right. And then Tony Gilroy comes in and then starts, on the behest of Kathleen Kennedy, cut and had to do a lot of chopping and chiseling, much like the Lord Miller and Ron Howard situation.
Yeah.
I think that we could. I mean, as Jacob is on, now mind you, I love movies, so I love 7, 8, 9. I can't say I love 8, but 7, 8, 9 I can watch. I would trade in 7, 8, and 9 for Rogue One, because it was a great story. It was something that you heard but you didn't get to see, and there were no, again, original characters to screw up the legend of Star Wars. And it was like, oh, that's how that happened. And Darth Vader is just a veil of just badassedness. So it's like,
come on, man, you can say you love Rogue One.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved Rogue One. I loved it. And you can put Darth Vader in freaking Wreck-It Ralph, and he's gonna work. It's just because it's Vader. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so like throwing him in the end was just awesome. But even if they didn't throw him at the end, just the fact that they led everything up to and they showed us what happened and how. Because if you remember, when you see A New Hope, they say a lot of good people died to get these plans, and they just showed us how it happened. Boom. I could have been good with that in the last 6 years and not have had the other ones, because it was just that good, in my opinion, because it didn't screw up anything when it came to the the Skywalkers, the Wookiees, the Yodas, and the Solos. That's just me.
Yeah, the mini boss
I
who
love
died
Rogue One.
was in Jedi, by the way. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I was cynical when I watched it, but to me, it's like I could tell when I had the original movie and when I had the reshoots, and it's like the parts I liked were all gritty, and it's like, you know, we had a lot of Star War. We had a lot of war in Empire Strikes Back, right? So that was more literally in the trenches and everything else. But not so much. Well, it sort of did in the Return of the Jedi with all of the ships and that final battle that was pretty intense.
That blast came from the Death Star.
But right. So the parts that were like take me serious were definitely in the reshoots. And then which made me laugh. And then of course the music, they also hired a different music director, so you get this very jarring change in direction in music, for some scenes. The stuff with them running across, running one of the previews where they were running away from being blasted and all that stuff, I was like, that I wanted to see that. I didn't need Mission Impossible Star Wars story, which they turned it into. It's like I used to say on this show, I said it didn't know if it wanted to be Mission Impossible or The Dirty Dozen. And it's like, I would have, a Dirty Dozen Star Wars movie, I would have been fine with. I love the Dirty Dozen, the original and several movies, sequels, and even the stupid TV show that was on some network back in the day. I don't remember. But figure out what or Kelly's Heroes. Even if you want to do somewhat of a gritty war movie that's a semi comedy, Kelly's Heroes is up there, right? It's pretty gritty still, but it has has Donald Sutherland and Telly Savalas, and it's not as corny as Catch 22, but it has its moments. And the dog, what do you want, Toby? But yeah, anyway. You guys keep talking, and I'm going to see what the hell the dogs want, because now 3 of them.
You're going to check, see if your dog's like farting and stuff?
Well, my son just supposedly let them all out, so I don't know what he's up here wanting, unless he didn't give them treats. So just keep talking. I'll be back.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I think one thing that hurts Rogue One is the Vader scene. And I say that because if you watch both movies back to back, the graphics and things that made Vader move and the way that he moved is definitely damaged between Rogue One and A New Hope. And I think that, to me, it bothers me, but at the same time, like, I love that. I just wish that, it didn't automatically go back to like decrepit Vader.
Yeah. I think the Vader scene in Rogue One.
Well, there were like 40 years difference.
Yeah. I think the Vader scene in Rogue One, like cemented Rogue One into the Star Wars mythos. They had to have that one piece. But like you said, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it was so smooth and so like, whoa, like it's Vader, holy yo. And then you go back and you watch, A New Hope, and he's like stiff. It was like, but like you said, it's a 40-year gap. But yeah.
And
if we're watching,
what?
Go ahead, Seth. Am I booing?
No.
Am I doing robot talk or anything? Because I'm hearing a lot of that.
No,
go ahead, Seth.
You're doing good. Have you seen the Vader fan film?
Yes.
You guys have? I loved that, but at the same time, like, I hated it. I loved it because it looked good. I hated it because it looked good.
Exactly.
Right. Like, even if you look at like,
awesome.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we have to I guess decide what we're going to believe in. I mean, if we watch Rogue One and then A New Hope, which is supposed to be in the timeline, let's think about this, and this is what gets me through. Vader did such a kick-ass job of taking out those rebels in the before they got to the 10 or 10 for And by the time he got to Darth Vader, he was like all like slow and his muscles were hurting him and everything. That's why he moved the way he did with Obi-Wan. Later
Yeah.
days. I mean, I have to do it in my mind. Otherwise, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. 2 days ago, you were kicking, 25 guys' butt and standing on the edge of this thing watching the off, and then now you act like some old dude. Come on.
Yeah, right. So if you look at if you look at A New Hope and you see again it's 77, so he fought, he was slow, was calculated, but he was still the. I mean, to this day, Darth Vader is voted as the most badass villain of all time. Period.
Oh yeah.
But then you look at
And definitely
Anakin's
one of the most recognized.
right, exactly.
Cinematically, he's involved with the biggest killing of all time. Well, no,
Right.
I take that back. That's Thanos now, because Thanos was galactic. Like,
Right.
Oh, yeah, Thanos,
yeah.
that's right.
But even
Yeah.
as badass as Thanos was, if you do like a Thanos versus Darth Vader, everybody wants to say Darth Vader, but Thanos is gonna snap his fingers, but you don't want to believe that because Darth Vader is the baddest villain of all time. You know what I'm saying?
Minus the
and then you-
snap, I think it would be a good fight. Like if
Yeah, but can we
if you could be like, what?
Can we even
What?
conceive of a snap taking out half the galaxy's population? I don't.
No.
But we can conceive about a dark force force Jedi wielding his power and taking on anybody he can and cutting them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
No way.
and you even look at Anakin. Anakin was a beast. Like when he was in the Clone Wars, and when he was a Padawan, he was just smooth and quick and fast, and he was a monster. And then when he became Darth Vader, he was slow because he was just cumbersome. He was just bogged down with all the technology he was wearing, but he still couldn't be touched. So it's like, when you see him progress from Anakin. And was it like 19 no, not even 2003 2004 to backwards into Vader in 1977, and then you jump forward to Vader in Rogue One in 2000 and was it 17? It's like, it's hard to see it because he was so slow in 77 and so much advanced in 2017, but it was still Vader. You knew that he was not to be touched, So that's what made it so hard to deal with because it was like you said, a 40-year gap in just in movies.
What are you guys listening to? Because somebody's got some crazy background noise.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's the kids are watching something crazy over here. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
They're watching Law and Order.
Law and Order SVU.
Yeah, it's SVU. That's exactly what it is.
Man, you
It's
gotta
an
get
SVU?
you gotta get us demonetized.
Well, by the way, I don't know if you've done a lot of like research on this portion of the like we're in the Vader mask and the Vader suit and the Vader all the stuff that's in there, that the Emperor actually suit that way, or his costume, I guess, to where it made him slow, and he wasn't able to be as fast as he used to be because feared him, killing him and moving forward. So it was purposely done that way. Yeah,
that's kind of like if you look at the video game, the Force Awakens, that one alternate ending where Starkiller, he actually wins on the dark side. He actually ends up killing Vader, and then he kills the Emperor because he was just so far advanced. But yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he slowed Vader down because he knew Anakin he would have been too much for him.
well, yeah, let's see, Revenge of the Sith. When Palpatine and Yoda were like crossing swords and everything, and he goes, "Vader will be more both of us combined." He had that been the case, that Anakin didn't get burned up and shown up because he didn't have the high ground, he would have been more powerful than any other Jedi. But the limitations that were placed upon him with that suit were done on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. It was Anakin's ego and his yeah. I mean, this is just straight up ego and his hate just what messed him up. Like Obi-Wan was right. I had the high ground, Anakin, and you see that in every iteration of the yeah. It's I mean, they have it. It's in the Mandalorian. It's in the new trilogies. It's in Star Wars Rebels. They use it. It's a running joke now. Like I had the high ground, and you lose it.
Don't try it, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Screw you.
That was definitely the most hard. It was definitely the most heartbreaking part. I mean, other than the fact that he was like, "Oh, I have the high ground, Anakin. You lost, blah blah blah." But when he said to him, "You're my brother, Anakin," and he said, "You're my brother, Anakin," and it was just like,
wow,
yeah, there's something fell back. I don't know what it is. I think he used the Force, and the kids dropped something.
Kids, I have the high ground.
But I think when he told him, when he said we were brothers, and he just was like, okay.
Hey, Anakin, why are we fighting? I'll just use Force Heal. Oh, there's Force Heal? Yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the end. Written and directed.
Let's go back and Force Heal all the younglings you killed.
So even like I consider Revenge of the Sith to be up in the top 3 of my favorite, and because that we had heard about but we never saw, and Lucas, when he did that, he pulled it off. I really thought he did a great job with that. And by the way, the best film is the first 90 seconds of Revenge of the Sith. The first 90 seconds. I mean, after all the...
Hey, tell your family I said, hey, I can hear them all in the background.
You hear them?
Yeah, forget you, Prime. I'm listening to those guys back there.
Sorry.
I just think it's some of the most beautiful images, computer film, whatever, is that first... where you see the big Star Destroyer and it's like boom, 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 boom. And then the Jedi starfighters come down and then they break over it and you see the entire battle. I'm like, oh, I love this. This is incredible. I have the high ground.
Yeah.
Check it out again.
Yep. What was the it was in between the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It was a cartoon series. I can't remember the name of it, but it filled in the gap, and it showed how Grievous got asthma, and it showed all that stuff. Asajj Ventress got killed. I can't remember.
You're not talking about Clone Wars, are you?
No, it wasn't Clone Wars. Clone Wars was the other filler, but it was a mini series. It was oddly drawn on Cartoon Network. Gosh, what was it? It might have been a 6-part mini series, and Mace Windu was the one who confronted General Grievous, and he crushed him with the Force. And he crushed his chest plate, and this is the reason why he was breathing. He breathed the way he does. Because if you look at Attack of the Clones, he was fine, and then you look at Revenge of the Sith, he had that weird breathing pattern.
Yeah, he had a cough, is what he had, is like a real bad cough.
Right, because Mace Windu crushed him, and it was on Cartoon Network, but they were like minis. They were like 11 to 15 minute mini cartoons that came like between episodes of other like Powerpuff Girls or something. But it was really, really good because it bridged that gap and it showed how Anakin got, because Anakin went from pretty face Anakin in Attack of the Clones to the scar on his face in Revenge of the Sith. And it showed how he got that scar on his face. I think Asajj Ventress did it to him. And he put the scar on his face, and all of a sudden he had a scar on his face in Revenge of the Sith. If you didn't see the cartoon series, you'd have never known how that happened. And I can't remember the name of that cartoon series, but it did a good job of bridging that gap. It wasn't. Let me think. I wish I could.
Well, I've googled it right now. It's Cartoon Network, Star Wars cartoons.
Let me see.
It could have been yeah, it was a limited series.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Resistance, not Droid.
It could have been Forces of Destiny.
I think Forces of Destiny. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
then it would have been it would have been Ahsoka Tano like crushing Grievous.
It's crazy because it actually was. I think it was Clone Wars.
Where it was and what it was called.
I think it was Clone Wars. They just it was Clone Wars, and then it and then
yes, it is, but
actual,
it's the director, or it's Genndy Tartakovsky.
Mhm.
That's his version of Clone Wars. It was the 2000 Cartoon Network series. It only lasted for 3 series.
Yep. And then they had the actual. Yep. You're right. You're right. I'm looking at it now. Yep.
Handler's like Hotel Transylvania. That was his like style of drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Yeah. So it was before the Dave Filoni.
Yep.
Genndy Tartakovsky. Yeah. Yeah, with the real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like real boxy jaw shape type of look.
Because I see a Coyote Mundi here, and his like jaw is down by his like belt line. What about the Wookiees? Very good, Tarful.
I'm not sure if you guys are digressing or going sideways.
Jawa ni chawi wachachua. I don't
McClunky.
Oh God.
Son vitele barataktika wadichinda. Jaba wadinchikos pawishai. I thank you when you uska.
What are you looking at the script? My goodness.
Dude,
Yeah,
I've had it memorized.
That I'm telling you, that was like spot on. All I know was Jabba. I can't even say what it was, but you got it spot on.
Okay, and it's like over my dead body. Utleyuma chespukutu da trista kaiho ya Oscar. Yes, I'll bet you have. And
Man.
Wow.
That's some talent.
I am impressed.
Yeah, my kids are always like, "Hey,
Well,
Daddy,
we know what
my friend." They're like, "Dad, do this, do." My friends, I'm like, dude, no, unless there's some money attached to it.
We have Mrs. Appalachian American in the chat. Hey, Wayne and family.
Yeah.
Without his name.
Hi.
Shoot.
No, I've been enjoying the conversation, just sitting here quietly.
Definitely. I am. I'm about to go and put 2 kids to bed for a little bit, and but I have definitely enjoyed the conversation. So I would like to be a guest on here as often as possible. This is fun.
That sounds good to me.
Channel Dad, what say you?
Yeah.
Channel Dad.
That sounds good to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How's the
I like
Corbin?
like the sound of it. All the with all the movies coming up and all the Disney Plus and Netflix and this and that and all the stuff that's coming up, I would definitely love to be invited back. That'd be fun. I love
You guys
it.
ever watch The Expanse? Has anybody watched The Expanse?
Yeah, that'd be fun,
my
man.
gosh,
Mm-mm.
that is the absolute
There's a
best.
season 4.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
No, I haven't.
I'm
seen it
rewatching.
That's a nice one to debate because
Too.
there's a lot in there. Yeah,
Oh, it's
there's
so
a lot in there
good.
to debate about.
It's so good.
All right, well, yeah, it sounds good to me, and we'll figure it out.
Do you
Awesome.
wanna plug any of your artwork channel like Facebook and stuff?
Yeah. On Facebook, I have a Facebook group. It's called Gaijin Black. That's the name of me and one of my friends' art group. We call it Gaijin Black because Gaijin is outsider and black because, well, we're black.
Racist.
It makes sense.
How do you spell that? How do you spell that?
Racist.
It's Gaijin Black. And yeah, we do the Big Lit Comic Con out here in Roanoke. Seth comes out there all the time, and he supports me big time. And I'm not gonna be able to do it this year. It sucks because they have the Green Ranger is gonna be out there. Tommy,
Yeah,
the original
Oh, yeah.
David Frank. Yeah,
Jason David Frank.
Yeah, that dude is
Jason
awesome.
Yeah, I met him 2 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, I met him.
And
at
I
the
was
Comic Expo. Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna bring my Dragon Sword out there and get him to autograph it.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was so hyped. I'm like, yes, he's gonna be out in February, yeah. But then I got to travel to Jersey. I have to travel to Vegas in February. So I'm like, I'm going to Vegas, so I can't be too mad. But it is still the Green Ranger, so I'm kind of upset. But
Of course,
I'm
we
gonna
won't
miss that
hear
one.
anything about it,
Yeah.
right? Because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
exactly, exactly.
Well, plus it's for work, so
Yeah, so it's not fun. So, but yeah, man, yeah, Gaijin Black. That's the name of our group, and I can just add you on there. I got a bunch of stuff on there, and I'm gonna add more stuff. And I'm all about like everything, Star Wars and Marvel and DC, just any kind of nerd. I love anime, so all that stuff is on there. I just draw a bunch of nerd stuff, and people try to tell me, "Hey, why don't you draw me?" I'm like, "No, I can't draw you. You're normal. That's just ridiculous."
Real life.
All
Right. I like fantasy. So
Well, I'll definitely put
yeah.
that in the description when I update it. I got to make some updates when we're done anyway. So I put it in the
Awesome.
chat. And anything else you got? And we got YouTube or Twitter or anything or Twitch or anything?
We have Twitter at the same thing, Gaijin Black. We have Instagram, same thing, Gaijin Black. So it's all the same thing. It makes it really
Right.
easy to find us.
Yeah, I'm sensing the
So-
theme here.
Yeah.
Call
All
me
right.
YG.
So, but thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. And like Seth told me last week, I was like, I got to travel out of town. But then this week, I was like, yes, I'm going to be there. So, thank you for having me on. I had fun. This is great.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
man.
Awesome.
The otherwise,
Thanks.
millennial versus old boomer crowd. Right, Brian?
Yeah, we're not quite boomers, but we smell like them.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I'm pretty sure Wayne's getting close.
See, I just found out I'm not a boomer. I'm not a millennial. I'm a zennial. That's that 76 to like 85. And I was born in 77. So I'm a zennial. That's some new stuff. So I'm
Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
you're a Gen Z versus
That's
we're
right.
Gen Xers. Brian and
okay.
Well, I
I.
thought
Do it
Z
right
was
there.
later. I thought Gen Z was later. It's after they're younger than Gen Y, but who knows?
I think they killed Gen Z.
77, maybe.
I think they
you're
killed
one.
Gen Z. Yeah, and they combined it with Zennials because they try to say that we were millennials, and there's no way in the world that I'm a millennial.
Well, I,
So
Yeah,
you're
so
on your
they
Twitter
changed it.
page, your Twitter
Zoomer.
feed.
Zoomer.
Yeah, it looks like you got a post about WWE recently. Retweeted. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, just make sure I got the right one. That's
Yep.
all. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Like I said, anything nerd, wrestling, anime, comics, whatever. It's just me. I'm on there.
All right.
So,
Sounds good to
all
me.
right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of business and call it a night.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. See you,
Cool,
bud.
thanks for showing up, bro.
Later.
All right, thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you on Monday, Seth.
Be safe on your
All right, man.
travels to Vegas.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Man,
Yeah,
it's quiet in
there's
here.
several. Huh?
Man, it's
Wow.
quiet in here.
I know. Yeah. I'll have to do
He
something
brings a
about
lot
his
of
background noise
enthusiasm.
in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to get him a microphone or something. So we
Do
get
something.
cut back on the background noise.
Well, he's getting a new house here about a month or so, and he's gonna have like an area dedicated for art and stuff.
right.
So that'll help cut down on noise if he wants to do this again.
Yep. That's
So,
good. So what else you guys got?
Nothing. It's a weird,
I got-
like kind of sleepy time over here. So
I got 6 pages of notes that we didn't really use. So
what? Come on.
Yeah, well, it's like he said he liked him. It's like I think that's the only disagreement is he said it, but I wanted maybe next time we can find out what he likes about them because he told us what he didn't like, and I'm like, well, I can't disagree with hardly anything. It's like, yeah, I have the same problems.
I thought it was gonna be a lot different. Oh well.
So, but hey, we can get into that. It's kind of like Dion disagrees. He likes some of that stuff too, and then you kind of ask him about it. And it's like, well, what do you really like? Because you're telling me a lot of what you don't. So,
All the
do you
11
do?
different times that he saw Dark Fate.
Hey, has that ever been confirmed or denied?
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
What is just show info?
Do what?
I said, is it just like show info that's just thrown up there? Like he said he saw the
Oh,
11 times?
I think Kendo was just picking on him.
Yeah, there was something
About
going
seeing
on that he wasn't available, and that movie was like it had just opened, and he wasn't on the show that night. And so, but he was visiting his sister. That he was out with his sister and his wife or something. I forget. And that was kind of the running gag that he was out seeing that, because it's all, there's old white women in it, so he's going to watch it.
Oh,
So,
I feel your
I think
pain,
that's it.
Dion.
And then
Feel your pain.
it's like Dion with horses. It's like he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't like horses; he doesn't trust them.
Right.
Sports.
But I have seen him, not walk across the street because there was a horse in the way. He went around it. So I've seen
Really?
it firsthand.
was it like a mounted cop or
Indianapolis
something?
last year? Well, Indianapolis last year at Horror Hound, we were walking to dinner, and there was those horse-drawn carriage type things, and there was one that had pulled up and was parked. It was just past the crosswalk, but we'd have to walk kind of close to it to get past it, but not like next to it, but maybe within 10 feet. And he just went, and and we were waiting for the light to change. And so for the cross street, we turned left, and that cross street was still green, and he walked across that. Then we walked across the street and then we walked back across the street. So we basically did that, we went around. Of course, by the time we did all that, the horse had moved, and I was just like, yeah.
But he had to avoid it.
I was standing right next to him. He shook his head. And then he's like, so he can say he's not afraid, but it sure seems that way.
Yeah. Based on the empirical evidence.
So
All right. Well,
anyway, I don't have much else unless you guys got something.
No, it's been a slow
Seth,
week.
you got those 6 pages, huh?
Yeah, 6 front and back pages of notes.
Oh, wow. Well, I think that then you're going to have to get into the nitty gritty of how the movie's put together. That's the thing with The Last Jedi. It's like, if you And I guess to be fair, we need to go back and watch the originals and look at it that closely, because he did have some points. Some of that was corny. When Mark Hamill talks about the first script, he said this is the goofiest thing I've ever read, and he even had friends read it. And it is a little goofy. I mean, that was one of the things that Harrison said to George. You can write this crap, but you can't say it. But it's kind of a corny, but it's not, in my view, it's not so what do they call it, technobabble as Star Trek is, especially the series. The movies aren't as bad, but the TV show get into it a lot.
I think they believe the showrunners believe that if you're going to invest all a little bit of buy-in to the characters and the language, and you're somewhat familiar, so they can go a little bit more with that.
Right.
Bands. I love that show.
There are parts of it I like, and there are parts that are driving me really crazy. There's something we can at least chat about for a little bit, because I was during season 3. You said you're at season 2? Right? What season are you through? All of it?
I saw the whole thing. I'm going over a second review, like a second viewing, because I'm picking up a lot more. So I'm in
because I had, when it first was available, and I had people that's like, "Oh, you need to watch this," and I tried watching it. I'm like, this is boring. But I've been recently rewatching it. But I got about halfway through season 3, and I'm like, if James Holden doesn't redeem himself, I wanted to. I'll space him. I had enough of it, and in 4 it's even worse. It's like I've had enough of his whiny bullshit. And then Naomi is the most inconsistent character, and I don't know if it's the actress. I don't know how she's written. She has a London accent, then she has a Belter accent, then she has a London accent, she has a Belter accent, and sometimes in the same scene it flips back and forth. And then she's supposed to be this great engineer, but she's as dumb as a box of rocks. She can't put two and two together ever. And I'm like, which is she? Is she a I can fix anything engineer, type thing? She's a very mechanically inclined engineer. Or is she a ditzy blonde? Please make up your mind, because she can't see the forest for the trees. And she has put the crew, every season that I've seen so far, at least once, if not multiple times, she's put the crew in a near guaranteed death situation. And it's all because of her Belter background. She's, has risk. She's even risking the peace here in episode 4 between, all the factions. And she doesn't see the bigger picture ever. And I'm just like, are you that dumb? And maybe because as a viewer, I know all the political stuff going on, and she seems oblivious to what reality is. And it's driving me nuts. So anyway, what do you think?
I see what you're saying as far as that of like the writers, or because they can't make up their mind, or is that the duality of her Belter background? Because I think that's the case at times. That's where her accent changes. She's not as radical, and she's trying to run from that radical past.
Right. Well, I know that. Right. Right.
So that might dictate a little bit of a schism in the character. Is she mechanically inclined? Yes. Does she always make the right decisions and can fix them? I think she's like R2-D2, very capable, and in a pinch, she'll pull it off.
Yeah.
And there's
but then she runs around like C-3PO. It's like, but she'll do like the dumbest thing that she possibly can, and put Holden in a position where he's got to, bail him out.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, well, I bore through. Whatever the past tense of bearing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the Christian and her political garbage, but now I just can't take it with the election and all this. It's just like, okay, I'm done. I'm and my Mac keeps putting my input level lower. And then I have no belief that Bobby is a Marine. That's a complete miscast. I have met former female Marines.
Yes. Yeah.
And
You're right.
over the years, and they're not that fat. I mean, there's no way else to put it. She does not have the shape that
And
says
she's
I
active
was a
duty
Marine.
too. She's an active
Right.
duty Mars
There's
Marine.
no way.
But
No
have you read the
way.
books? Have you read the books?
No, I haven't read. No,
I
I haven't. I didn't know there were
but I've
books.
listened. Oh yeah, Stephen S.A. Covey, that's the direct. You'll see his name in the credits.
Oh, really?
Audiobooks.
He did the Chronicles of Stephen. Is that the same? Yeah, keep talking. I'll look up something.
Yeah, S.A. Covey. I know those are middle initials, but she is written that way that she's like a big Polynesian woman, and their makeup is like, their body type is really books. Even the source material, she's a big gal. Now I don't know if they could have got someone else like a Gina Carano, but yeah, she's a little thick.
Yeah, but see,
and sometimes she looks
okay,
really
now
thick,
here,
and sometimes she looks okay.
Yeah, I will pull my gym nerdness out here. It's James S.A. Corey is the guy's name.
Corey, that's who it is. Yeah,
the way
I was saying
she
Stephen
walks, right? The way she walks and her feet placement tell me she does not lift weights. And so
Gin Toad,
the way her knees fold in.
Yes, yeah.
She walks like someone who does cardio a lot and is getting fatter even though she keeps doing cardio, which is exactly what cardio is going to do. And she does not, the way she runs and other things, she does not present herself as someone who has that kind of training. And that's right. Okay. Because she has the Australian accent. That's fine, whatever. But it's like, get her in the weight room and get her doing squats, and it's going to change her posture, and it's going to be a little bit more believable.
Okay.
So, it's not some Barbie doll trying to be it.
I'll tell you this. Look at the IMDb page for The Expanse, and then look at her name, which is Frankie Allen. And
Frankie Adams. I'm looking at it.
Frankie Adams. Go do the natural progression, and you see her like at Comic-Con is the last ones I saw. She's gaining weight.
Yeah, I noticed that in season 4.
I was like, what? Yeah, so she's got to do something different.
Yeah.
Yep. Seth, have you seen it, buddy?
Because some of the other
No.
Yeah. Because some of the other Marines that have been in there, some of the other female, they do look like they lift well. I mean, you're going to be doing squats and deadlifts and all that kind of stuff, and it's going to change. It'll change your body shape a little bit, and it also changes the way you do things. And I don't get that sense from her ever. And so, it just.
And in the audiobook, they do talk about her Polynesian background, and it's written that way.
Right.
Yeah. Could they have gotten a different actress?
I don't know.
Sold it a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, you're right. When I thought about it, I was like,
oh, sorry. Toby's up on my lap again. I don't know. My son supposedly took them all out, but I don't know what he did. But yeah, it's to me, maybe I'm being persnickety here, but and then Cara Gee, who plays Kamina Drummer, who she's in charge of this stuff. I keep trying. I want to find. I found a couple of interviews with people interviewing her, like it's some outdoors. There's lots of noise. I want to know what she's Canadian, or from Canada, I guess. I want to know what she sounds like without that stupid belter accent. It's like right. It's like they took the dumbest people in the solar system and they had children. But
that's what it's supposed to be. They're the
I know, I
World.
get it. I get it, but it's so freaking annoying. It's like, oh my gosh, it's 4-year-olds talking as adults. And you can hear it's like she does it pretty well. The guy who plays that old man who's like half burnt, I forget what that character's name is.
Oh yeah, played by
Klaus
Michael
Ashford.
Sterth.
Oh, it's David Strayer.
Yeah.
He doesn't do as good a job.
No, he doesn't. And you know who
But,
did
yeah,
the best job with the Belter accent was Jared Harris, who was remember he was in
season
2. Yeah, he's a wonderful actor to
he's
begin
still
with.
alive because they talk about him.
Yeah.
He's a foreigner, and he's like from Jared Harris.
He was like played Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes, and he was in The Terror.
Oh,
I don't know
he's
if you
British.
saw that. Yeah, he's Richard
I almost thought
Harris's
he was
son.
like Danish or something. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I almost thought he was a like foreigner, like Danish or something like that.
No, he pulled that accent off.
Yeah, he does a very good job with it. But yeah, well, part of my problem with Christian is the lady that plays her. It sounds like she's been chain smoking all her life.
I think she has.
And she can hardly talk. It's like,
why should talk like this? And it's like, yeah. I just want to make sure that they like. It's weird. But she is
and I don't like
renowned actor.
Oh yeah, she's from Iran,
Yeah.
and I understand a lot of it's probably the way it's written, but the UNN politics and stuff, it's like they're so afraid to repeat what they perceive as the mistakes. Because this is when they were going through the ring and they can go to other worlds, and they were talking about the Yukon and how people died and all that, and it's like, yeah, but it was their choice to go. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You are you are imprisoning people and then bitching that you don't have the funds to feed everybody, and you can get rid of a third of your population if you just get out of the way. Let them go. Let them make a choice, and self-determination, dag nabbit. But that's the current UN. So if you took the UN and it was really well, no, that manifest destiny is a different thing, but self-determination is what
I know. I
people
just
are
wanted to
lacking
say
in
that.
But that
sounded like you were going.
I know,
on
but
on
that might
rant.
be a political commentary on the current UN, right? If the UN was truly a global government, self-determination would be gone, and that's probably
right.
And I get that, but it's like, oh my god. But as Princess Leia said, the more the more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers.
Slip through your fingers. yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, overall I like it. I think I liked Serenity better, or Firefly, even though they didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And I really like the Battlestar Galactica reboot, which
I love that. I totally love it. And it has a lot changing of subverting expectations. I wish Ruin Johnson wouldn't have coined that, but we thought we knew, like the Battlestar Galactica, totally just changed everything around.
Right.
Well,
right. And what
punch out, gents.
Yep.
Seth,
we
you still
can talk
there,
about
buddy?
The Expanse some other time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, did you fall asleep?
Yep, just hanging out.
It's like, well,
and Elizabeth Mitchell's in it now. Which, I've been in love with her since forever.
Who's that?
So, Elizabeth Mitchell, at least since she's been in Lost.
Oh, okay.
Although, I keep seeing pictures of her as
Elizabeth Shue since I was in high school.
Oh, there you go. Can't blame you for that. It's all right.
No.
We're ready to wrap this up and go to bed? All right.
Yes, sir.
Did it help? We got started late. So, as is seen in the thumbnail and the description, the Hall of Fame for tonight for episode 110 is Karen Gillan, and it's not ironic. And I know she's not BBC like Kendo Slice would have had, but she's Scottish, she's redhead, and she's in a better movie than Daisy Ridley. So boom, there I said it. So there you go. If anybody is still listening, thank you so much. Thanks to Mrs. Appalachian American for stopping by and saying howdy. And we'll have Wayne on again sometime. What was his handle? This is
known as the one
Known
or
as the
something.
One.
I don't remember.
And I think I found all his stuff on Instagram and Twitter and all that, and I'll weave that into the description as well. And thanks everybody.
Sweet.
And I finally got up to episode 106 on BitChute. I did change the outro music, and actually the artist who created that on YouTube has even said, "Oh, thanks," and stuff like that. It's got a bunch of free stuff, so check it out if you're listening on BitChute. Click over there and subscribe and support that guy. I think he's fairly young. I don't know how young, but he's got a lot of good stuff and not a whole lot of subs. So we're gonna help him out a little bit. All right.
What's his channel?
Any last words? Crap, I can't remember. Hold on.
Just go click over there.
I
Just do
I
it.
have it. I happen to have one of our episodes on BitChute. So here's his. I'm going to put in the chat his names. You tell me. I think it's a he. It could be a girl for all I know. Here's the name of this individual. You tell me how to pronounce it. Sayafig Haye. I don't know. But Rebellious is what I've been using as an outro. And if you want to listen to it, here's that link, direct link. And it's longer than the other one we had, but hey, that's fine. I redid all that, redid the outro crawl and everything else. I also added a bunch of stuff, and there's even more Monty Python-esque things in there for those who aren't paying attention. All right. If you've seen the Holy Grail, you might giggle a bit.
Awesome. Well, I thought we had a really good show.
So,
and,
Prime Movers, say good night.
Yes, sir. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. I guess this is the first show in the new. Continue to like, subscribe, like, and share. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Appalachian?
I'm going to go force heal myself, so
okay.
I'll see you guys.
All right. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. Goodbye.
.com.